Well, today's Saturday. I'm coming back from the accordion shop from this nice gentleman's house, Edwin, and I asked him if he has any bags for sale, and he gave me a brand new, nice, made in Italy bag. So that's my accordion in there. But this was like 150 bucks, and he takes only either cash or Interac email transfer, right, which is super popular in Canada, but there's no internet over there, you know. And he says, hey, I can give you Wi-Fi password in my house. And so I went to my car and got my laptop, and yeah, I can log on, but the problem is that there's no cell phone service, right? And so all the banks now, they require this two-step authentication, which I really hate, right? And so imagine the situation, right? So I'm logged on to the internet, to his Wi-Fi at his house, and it's pretty slow, but it works. And then when I go to my bank website, and they said, okay, what do you want to do? You want us to call you or text you the code? And if you say call, they will a computer will call you, you know, like a robot, and say your code is, you know, like a big number, usually 6 digits. And so I said, no, text. Usually that's what I choose, you know, like, so they send me a text message. Except this time, because my phone is dead, I don't receive it, you know. And so my phone, because it's an iPhone, usually they communicate with my MacBook, right? Because everything is Mac in the Dratchev's household. And before I was a big Windows guy, but then like some 10 years ago I switched to Mac and never looked back. And so usually I see the code right on my computer because I have messages, right, and they communicate. But now nothing happens, and so I say, hey, maybe I should have my phone join your Wi-Fi as well. And I try that, it doesn't work. So, and I owe him after $200. Like, he only charged me like $145 for repairs. You know, he was super nice, and he changed the gaskets, and he on the bellows, and he fixed a couple of leaks. Turns out there were the spots where there's a strap at the top and at the bottom there to hold the accordion in the, you know, transport position. They were leaking, the buttons themselves. And then he did a couple of other things, like, you know, I think it was worth it. And his minimum is 150 bucks. He only charged me 143, and then the bag was 150. So I said, hey, I only brought $200. And so he calculated I owed him $102. And so I couldn't do it from his house. I said, okay, let me get to a spot where there's internet. I'll send you money right away. And so I stopped at that truck stop. I wanted to get a quick lunch over there, and I'm hooking up my computer to my hotspot. Okay, it doesn't want to connect. It's like a nightmare, you know. And then I said, okay, finally I copied my password from the computer while it still had power, and I logged on through the app on the phone. And on the phone it's way easier. There's less security because they do face recognition, right? So as long as your face is clear, I mean nearby, as soon as it recognizes my face, I logged on right away. It didn't even ask me for a text message or anything. So it's definitely way simpler from the phone, except of course you have to, usually before I think I had to enter my password, but now it just let me logged on, and I was able to, I sent the guy 120 bucks for him trusting me, because he was a bit nervous. I said, come on, like, don't I said, don't worry about $100, I'll send it to you. And so he gave me the bag, nice bag, and he says, you want to try? I said, no, don't wanna, you know, I don't even know how to play, right? I just switched from Russian style button accordion to this one. I trust him. So he did, you know, he did quite a few things over there. But anyway, enough about the accordion. And so yeah, Friday I was finishing work at 6 o'clock at the site there in Drumheller, and I asked him, I said, can you guys let me Monday, can you let me start at 7:30, just like one day of the week? Like, I'm okay 6 to 6 on the other days, but Monday, since I'm coming from Calgary, you know, it's a 90-minute drive. For me to be there at 6, I'd have to get up at 4 or even like 3:30, you know, and then it's a super long day. And the guy says, okay. And I said, all right, then I'll be here Monday at 7:30. And then I'm driving home, and my friend calls, and he says, Monday is Thanksgiving. You guys working? And I'm like, holy moly, right? Nobody said anything about Monday, you know, at work being closed. So when I stopped, I texted all the three supervisors that I know. You know, I said, I'm sorry to bother you after hours, but what about Monday? It turns out it's a holiday. And first, the big boss, the whole supervisor of the entire site, says, no, yeah, it's okay, we are good, we're good for guys. Basically, we have enough people, so you can stay home if you want to enjoy your long weekend. We'll see you Tuesday morning. Okay. Then my immediate supervisor, the guy who's actually in charge of you know, day-to-day operations, he texts me back, you know, answer to my original text, because I asked him the same question. I asked 3 people the same, you know, what am I doing Monday? This guy says, Monday we have the site open. It's because it's a holiday, it's all overtime pay. And I said, well, the other guy said, you know, the big boss said, you okay for people? But I said, if you want, I can come over at 7:30. And there was no reply yesterday when I was doing this. And so I went to the hotel. You know, basically this place, Buck Lake, right, where the accordion shop is like 250 clicks from Calgary, but it's much closer from Drumheller. But anyway, if I went from Drumheller straight home and then drove this way, it would be 2 times the distance, right? And so I booked a hotel in Red Deer, which is kind of like halfway point between Drumheller and Buck Lake. And so yesterday I drove 130 clicks from Drumheller to Super 8 in Red Deer. Man, what a dump. A very bad hotel. Very run down, but I think it was cheap. It was the cheapest one. And then this morning I got gas. I took out $200 cash for this Edwin guy, for the accordion technician. And then I found Starbucks, spent a couple of hours there, and then I realized, wait a second, I still haven't heard from my immediate supervisor about Monday. So I sent him a text message again at 9 o'clock. I said, I'm sorry to bother you on a Saturday, but do I have to come in on Monday? And he calls me back. I'm guessing it was too much to text, because there was an issue that I wasn't aware of. He says, Sergei, are you on site now? Like, I understand, you know, he's busy, right? He's like, he's doing a million things at once to run such a huge site. But I said, I live in Calgary, so I said Friday I go home, and then Monday I'm coming back and I go to a hotel in Drumheller. And I said, I'm only working Monday till Friday. And he says, well, if you're not coming in on this long weekend, then I cannot just let you come on Monday. And then somebody else told me that there's some kind of a rule, basically, to get overtime. You must be working on the day before, some BS like that. And first of all, I'm not I'm not. I said I can't. I have some things to do, right? So I was this accordion guy emailed me a couple of days ago. So we agreed that Saturday I'm driving over there to pick up the accordion, right? But these guys never told me anything about the working on the weekend. They never said anything about Monday being a Thanksgiving and it's a special kind of like schedule, right? And secondly, I work through a temp agency, right? I don't even know if they pay me overtime. But I submitted my timesheet, like they use a special website where you log in, kind of like a banking website, except that's where they keep tabs on how many hours you work, and you just kind of like make a declaration, right? So they pay us every week on Friday, but 1 week behind. So this week what I worked Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. They're gonna pay me next Friday. And so yesterday I submitted 3 timesheets, which is like a big word, which means that you click on the date and you just say how many hours you worked. And they don't pay us for the 30-minute lunch, but there's 2 15-minute breaks, and those are covered. So let's say if I work from 6 to 6, I say I worked 11.5 hours, which is 12 hours minus half an hour lunch, right? And so I did that, and right away it shows you how much money you made. And I think I made, like in 3 days, I made over 950 Canadian, which is pretty good. But again, so nobody said anything about the weekend, right? So I said, okay, so if you don't want me to come on Monday, since I definitely not working on the weekend, so I'll be there Tuesday. And that's exactly what the big boss said, right? Like his supervisor, who I also texted, right? And so yeah, for some reason, only the first day they gave me the loader, and I don't think I did anything wrong. I don't know. There was no accidents, no incidents. I operated the machine quite well, to my own surprise, because you know it's a big machine. But then yeah, the day 2 and day 3 I was on skid steer. So day 2, which was Thursday, I was doing this remediation, which was actually quite fun, where I was helping the guys straighten these piles, as they call them, right? And Friday, most of the time I was backfilling. Like they have these trenches, you know, where these solar panels will be, and so there's cables in the ground, and so they had to dig, like, I don't know, 3-4 foot deep trenches, and there's cables in there. And for some reason they want those cables to be covered with sand, not dirt or soil, but you know, nice clean sand. And depending on how many cables are there, it's just, you know, anywhere from 2 inches to 6, which is, you know, super tricky to do on your second day of work. Because basically what happened is that I went to the sand pile, which is like half a kilometer away. You drive there, you pick up your bucket, then you drive half a kilometer back to the trench and try not to spill too much sand at maximum speed. and then I miscalculated, you know, I didn't curl the bucket quick enough, and so I dumped like half the bucket in one spot. And another guy comes over, he says, "Man, what did you do?" You know, like, it was supposed to be like 2 inches of sand. But basically what they wanted to do, they wanted to come in at one spot, drop a little bit, then move, drop a little bit over there, and then if it's like a lot of cables, like 6 or 9 or whatever, they want 6 inches. If it's just like a few cables, they want 2 inches. So, and it was tricky, you know. But then at the end, eventually I learned. So I was splitting, I was doing like 3 drops, you know. I would do like the full bucket, and then I would do 1/3 of the bucket in one spot, then move a little bit, one third of the bucket here, You know, but these trenches, they have very bad, you know, edges, sides, like they're all loose or uneven, and a couple of times, you know, I cannot even dump it into the trench because I'm coming over and I could feel that the rear of my machine starts going in the air. So I don't want to go face down into the trench, but that's what happens because my bucket is heavy, right? And I try to come, and there's a slope there on the side of the trench, or a very loose, you know, ground, and the whole thing starts rocking like this. And the boom, because it's a skid steer, right? It's not a wheel loader, so the boom is pretty short. So I start, you know, booming up, and the bucket, when I drop the material, the sand, it just goes on the side of the trench instead of going in. So I don't know. I did not like this part. So, but that's what I was pretty much doing all day Friday, is this backfilling. I was hoping they would send me for that remediation again, because I like that much better, but no. Actually, I took a radio this time. They do have like a limited amount of number of radios. I took a radio with me, and then I heard the excavator guy calling to my supervisor on the radio, and he says, "Are there any skid steer guys around?" And he says, "What do you need?" "Oh, I need a couple of buckets of sand over here," because he was you know, there was some cables there as well where he was working, and nobody was answering. And then somehow I got assigned to this, and so I was talking to the excavator operator, you know, which was pretty cool. Like, "Hey, what do you want this?" And he's sitting in the excavator, and on the radio he's telling me, "Oh yeah, just over here." And so I brought 2 buckets of sand, but after that it was back to the trench backfilling. So basically that's the many parts of the job. So now I'm familiar with the process. So first they move these piles, right, from the storage area to the place where they have to be, you know, driven in. And then the second stage is, because they're in a heap, in a pile, then you have to separate them and lay them on the ground like one after another, so that the pile driving crew has an easier job of putting them in, right? And then there's the trenches, right? Then there's the cables, and then you have to move those boxes. I don't know, I did not see any guys move those crates with solar panels. Those are already spread out across the field, but I'm pretty sure they were doing that too. So probably they're coming in on a truck, and then the either skid steer guys, or I saw we have one zoom boom, you know, like one of those telescopic loaders. Maybe they use that one. And then of course there's a big pipe, much longer, like 20 feet long, that sits on top of these piles that go in the ground. And then finally somebody connects or installs the actual panels themselves, right, and hooks them up. So somebody has to lift those panels because they're pretty heavy. I have not seen that one yet, but yeah, it's a huge site, lots of work to do. There's always something to do, you know. Oh, and yesterday for the first time I did 2 things, 2 new things for me. One was fueling. I saw that, you know, when I was starting the shift, I look at the gauge. Of course, you know, when you're doing a pre-trip inspection, I wrote down the hours. It shows on the John Deere, there's a little display here. If you go through the menu, it shows you the hours. And then the fuel gauge is just analog gauge, and I see it was like 90%. But once I started working, all of a sudden it started dropping like crazy. And so somewhere around 3 o'clock or 2 o'clock, I see that I'm at a quarter of a tank. And so I talked to my, what they call him, probably team leader. Like I was assigned to this trench, and there was one kind of like a senior guy who was also running the skid steer, but he was kind of like the boss for this particular project, for this particular day, right? And so I asked him, I said, hey, I need fuel. How do I get it? And he says, oh, there's a tank over there. And I said, is there any log? Do I have to fill any records? Or do I do it myself? Or is there some attendant over there? He says, no, you just do it yourself. There's a little generator. You just, push the button. I mean, he didn't give me many details, right? So, okay, I drive over there. I find the huge tank. The generator, there's a switch which says no fuel, fuel. So you turn that, but there's no push start. You have to, you have to pull that string that, like you start engine on a boat. Took like 10 times. Finally it started. I take the hose. Now the next question is, where is the inlet for the tank on the on the John Deere? I walked around. Usually I thought it would be somewhere in the back. I see one panel, and on the panel there's a picture of that steam, basically DEF. I opened that, like a little panel on the right bumper, rear right bumper, and on the cap it says DEF only. Okay, so that's not the right one. Then I go to the left side, because there's also like a little door there in the bumper, like a metal door on the left. I cannot open that one. Not sure what is there. Then I decide to look under the hood. So I felt like an idiot, but I didn't want to ask anybody, because they would say, wait a second, you are an equipment operator and you don't know and you don't know how to, where the tank is. And so finally I opened the engine compartment. It's in the very back, right on top of the radiator, right? I opened the engine compartment. Right away I see in the rear right, if I'm facing the front of the machine in the back, there's what looks like an inlet, and there's a cap, and the cap says diesel fuel only. Bingo. So I screw that one, grab a hose, push the trigger, nothing happens. The generator's running, no fuel. I go look at where the hose is connected to the tank.
800 meters, turn left to stay on Alberta 20 South. Signs for Bentley, Sylvan Lake.
And there's some kind of a meter that shows the how many liters you take, right, or gallons. But in this case we're in Canada, so it's liters. And there's some kind of a turn valve. Okay, so I turn that one. Right away the generator starts.
Turn left to stay on Alberta 20 South. Signs for Bentley, Sylvan Lake.
The generator starts making some kind of a weird sounds, like it's dying. Like holy moly, I'm gonna burn the generator. So I turn that thing back. Again, I try the trigger on the hose. Nothing. And then I look again. Now to me it's clear that thing that makes the generator sound bad, that's actually the valve that blocks the fuel.
Continue on Alberta 20 South for 25 kilometers.
So I turn it again, the generator starts complaining, but then after like 3 seconds I could feel something is, like a pump, where a pump is pumping. And sure enough, now I pull the trigger on the thing and it works. And I have no idea how many liters I took, but it was a lot, because it took like 5 minutes. Probably has a big tank. So that was one thing I learned, where and how to get fuel on the site. Very important. And secondly was grease. Because again, I told this guy, Ben, the team leader, I said, hey, something is going on with the skid steer. First off, I noticed that when I have sand in the bucket as I'm driving, and of course you curl it up, right, so not to spill the material, and I find that it starts going like this, you know, it opens up, and there's 2 cylinders in there in the front that control that, like the big arms, you know, on the side of the skid steer, they're responsible for lifting, right? It's a boom up, boom down. But these 2 cylinders right in front of my door, they do this. And so I looked underneath, you know, got out, looked underneath. I don't see any leaks, but something is going on. It's basically losing pressure. So the bucket starts slowly, you know, curling, getting open. Basically like dumping, yeah, like as if you're dumping. And so as I'm driving like this half a kilometer from the pile where I picked up that sand to the trench, I have to do a couple of movements because it opens up. And so I told him that, and I said, how do I get it fixed? How do I report it? Like, what do I do with the inspection sheet? Basically, you know, I did the inspection in the morning and I put that sheet in the little pocket there, and there's a little pocket, so I put it in, and it says give it to the supervisor, just write it up and they'll fix it. And all their machines, they're rentals, because I see the name of the rental company, it's a big company, so everything is rented, like the skid steers, excavators, rock trucks, everything. Oh, and also I said, so that's one issue, but then the bigger issue, all of a sudden my rear view camera stopped working. You know what really helps with visibility is on this John Deere 331G, there's kind of like what I have here, right? When I put it in reverse, except on the skid steer, that rear camera is active all the time. At first it was a bit confusing. Like I'm driving forward, it shows me everything behind me, and I went in the back just to check, and there's like why did it stop working, and there's a little lens right just above the radiator, and so I cleaned it up, still nothing. And you know, when you work, it's very tight, there's all these piles everywhere, right? And you don't want to hit somebody, like other people. And so I quickly got into the habit of checking that camera, you know, when I was backing or just as I'm driving. Sometimes people will try to pass you if somebody goes quicker, like a different machine. You know, I'm driving like this and there's another lane here, and all of a sudden I see a guy is passing me. And so it's, you know, the visibility is not good in the skid steer, because you sit like this, and first off you have protective shielding on your windows, so it doesn't give you a good visibility through the sides. The only good area is the front. It's a huge window, and then the back, of course, you have your counterweight, your radiator, your engine. You know, you can look like this, but you're not gonna see much. So that camera is really vital for a safe operation. And so I wrote it up, so basically losing pressure in the bucket tilt cylinders, rear view camera stopped working, and one more problem was that when I was lifting, when I was booming up, as the technical term is, right, and then dumping the bucket, I heard the squeaking sound, like the joints. So it looked like maybe this machine was not greased. And so I told this band guy, the leader, I said, I need to grease this because something doesn't sound right, you know. I didn't want to wait till the end of the shift, because maybe I can, you know, you can damage some gaskets or whatever. And they said, you know where the grease container is? I said, yeah. And so that's the second thing I learned yesterday, is where they prefer to grease the skid steers like every second day. And so I drove over there, found the container, and there's like 2 containers, 40-foot containers, and they have all these goodies inside, like, you know, any supplies you need. And there's a guy there. I said, sir, can I please get a grease gun? And I was waiting for him to give me like a regular manual grease gun. No, he gives me this you know, fancy battery operated one. I never used them before. He says, oh, it's easy, just, you know, once you hook up to the nipple, just pull the trigger. It's like a gun, right? So which was pretty cool. So I found all the grease points on the machine. There was quite a few of them, like basically on the boom, on top of the boom in the back, near the bucket there was a couple. I greased everything, and then I went back to work, back to that backfilling, and I still heard that sound, you know. And so I drove again to the office, and gave the report to my supervisor. I said, this, you know, there's a couple of things with this machine that need to be fixed. And he was super happy. He says, great, thank you for writing that up. He said, I'm gonna send an email right away to the rental agency, and we're gonna take care of it. Oh, but before that, he says, I wrote down the VIN number because I wasn't able to find the unit number. So when I went to the office, he says, no, the VIN number is not gonna cut it. We need the unit number. And I said, where do I find it? He says, well, usually there'll be like a sticker with a QR code. You know, like the QR code that you can read with your phone. And he says next to it will be something like PF and then a bunch of numbers. He says that's the unit number. And so I go there right away. I see on the back near the radiator there's a tiny little sticker with that QR code, and there's like something like NL 440-971, something like that. And so I write that down, go back to the office. So now they're gonna fix that. So now I want to make sure that Tuesday when I show up there, I'm not taking this machine, because I don't want to operate without the rear view camera. And so yeah, so turns out Monday I cannot be there, right? Because I could not work Sunday, which I had no idea they expected me to. And they said, yeah, they're gonna be basically a bunch of guys here because of the overtime pay. And he says, I cannot let you just come in on Monday. Well, that's fine with me. So I'm gonna stay home, but you know, I want to show that I'm serious about this work, right? That I'm not some kind of a lazy bone. So now Tuesday, I will have to get up at 4 o'clock and be there at 6. You know, because you know I don't want to get him angry or upset or anything. But my contract with the temp agency, it was like that. They said 6 to 6. Monday through Friday. Nobody said anything about working on weekends. That's too much, you know. I want to have a life, you know, just outside of construction as well, right? But when I talked to a friend of mine, he says, oh no, he says most construction guys, they have no life. You work. I said, well, hopefully after I get like 3 or maybe 6 months of experience, since it looks like this site will be busy at least for another 6 months for sure. So hopefully the temp agency will extend my contract, or maybe I'll switch to another agency that's also active on the site, or if I'm lucky, maybe I'll get hired directly by the company, since now I know all the supervisors. You know, I have their phone numbers. They gave us their, you know, basically they are saying that the most efficient way to fix a problem, they say, just text me. Do not call, because it takes too much time to say hi, how are you, what's up, you know. Text is just very efficient. Okay, go to the northeast end, lot this one, see Charlie, he'll tell you what to do. Done, you know. So that's what I like it. Like, you know, text messages are very efficient. And so yeah, now I have my accordion. I have a long weekend, back to work only on Tuesday. But yeah, so the plan is stay there 3 months, 6 months, but when I'm back home, I'm gonna update my resume and I'm gonna show the current work that like my last entry was IHE school, internal heavy equipment operator school, as my experience. But now I can actually put the real job, and I'll say, hey, heavy equipment operator working on a solar farm, operate, and give them like brand and model, you know, operate Caterpillar 966, even though it was one day, but it's true. Operate skid steer John Deere 331G, and then I'm gonna list all the tasks I did so far, like, you know, backfilling, carrying piles, what else did we do? Remediation, basically help with correcting the vertical position of these piles. So yeah, hopefully in 5 or 6 months I will be able to find something, maybe, you know, closer to Calgary, where I don't have to pay for the hotel, you know. And maybe I could do it, you know, 40 hours. Like some jobs are, you know, it doesn't have to be 12 hours or 10 hours, you know. I think you can find a job like 8 hours, you know, let's say, I don't know, 7 to 4, 8 to 5, or maybe even part-time. But I definitely want to stay in this equipment thing, because the more experience you have, the easier it would be to find like a better job closer to home. And talk to one guy, he's also with the same agency as me, and we were starting together. And first day they put him on a dozer, because he knows he has experience with a dozer with GPS, like a big, you know, Komatsu huge machine, you know. And that second day I see he's on the excavator. Man, this guy is really, when they asked him, when we were, you know, talking to the supervisor about what machines we can all operate, I wrote skid steer, wheel loader, a rock truck. And he said, oh, anything, skid steer, dozer, excavator, wheel loader. And he's like, I don't know, 35 years old. And so I asked him, I said, when he was the guy who called me on the radio and asked me to bring him sand, where he was excavating something there. And when I was talking to him, you know, he stopped the machine and we just chatted for a second. And I said, man, you're so good, you're so fast, because I watched him, like he was, you know, professional. And I said, how many hours do you think it would take for a rookie to learn the
100 meters at the roundabout, take the second exit onto Alberta 20.
To learn the excavator? 100 hours, 2 months, 2 years? And he said, well, you know what they say about the 10,000 hours rule? I said, man, 10,000, that's 5 years. Don't tell me that it takes 5 years to but he said, well, that's to be really good. To be really good, you need about 10,000 hours or 5 years. But yeah, that's too much. But I'm pretty sure you can be proficient maybe after like a couple of years.
Exit the roundabout onto Alberta 20. Continue on Alberta 20 for 16 kilometers.
Check this out, Scania. Wow, Scania cab over. First time ever I see a Scania in Canada. But it looks old. I didn't even know that they're legal here. And the weather's good today, you know, Thanksgiving weekend. And Monday is gonna be like, now it's plus 22 Celsius. Monday is gonna be plus 20. Now in other news, yeah, I'm still 155 clicks away from home, so like 95 miles. Man, I'm doing a lot of driving. Yesterday 130 clicks, this morning 130 clicks, now what was it, like 200 back home. No, 250. And one thing that happens with this Jeep, so now I have 6,800 kilometers on it. This is the second car where I have adaptive cruise control. And all it is just problems, constant problems, you know? Like I had it on the previous Dodge Hellcat. And what happens is that when you have adaptive cruise control, you don't have a regular cruise control. So this thing wants to constantly measure the distance to the previous vehicle, the speed. And so if something happens with that sensor or the camera, or something happens with automatic braking, because that's what it does, right? Like if you come too close to a vehicle, it starts braking by itself. So there's like a million of sensors, and if one of the sensors is offline, what happens is that you lose the cruise control, which, you know, I'm used to using all the time. Like even when I was a trucker, I always used the cruise control. And so here, over here on the left, I see it says off, collision warning off. And because of that, if I click this button over here, highway assist ready, must be on supported road. And on the right, it shows me exclamation mark and the picture of a car. So basically it cannot, like if I click on, it says highway assist off, ACC unavailable. Basically ACC is like collision warning or something. It's a service required. Adaptive cruise control, yeah, that's what it is. Okay, now it's on. Okay, now it's working. Now I took my foot off the gas. But then what happened already yesterday and before, it works for like 10 minutes and then it kicks you out of the cruise control, because I still see on the left there's a warning, says something is off, some kind of either braking or something, I don't know. And I just don't like to use my foot all the time, especially when you drive like, you know, 250 kilometers. And this happened maybe once on the Dodge Hellcat. And then I think I just, I think when I was picking up, when I was picking up the car, I had that symbol. And I talked to the sales guy, I said, I have some warnings there. He says, oh, it's just your pedestrian, what it's called. Basically, there's a sensor that detects pedestrians. And if that thing is off, then you have these warning lights. And so he just went into this little icon called vehicle, and then settings, and then safety. And under safety and highway assist, there's a little thing called pedestrian, you know, warning. And you just click that on and it works. But I tried that this morning. It does not want to save. You know, I click on it, activate, cannot save the new setting, service required. You know, but now it works for now. But that's what I find, it's very finicky, this adaptive cruise control. I wish I had not taken it, you know, because like I said, you lose the cruise control. I don't care about the warning. I can cancel it. I can tap the brakes and to get out of the cruise control, and then you just click resume. That's what I had in the truck, you know. But this is total BS. And then even, you know, even if, let's say, that camera, it's totally unprotected on the front. If, let's say, some mosquitoes or bugs get on that camera, you get that, you know, code as well. So like now 80 kilometers an hour, so I hit the brake pedal and I slow down, no big deal. So that's one thing that irritates me in this Jeep Compass. These sensors, but everything else, you know, touch wood. I really like the small size. I like the trunk. You know, very useful for me now when I carry like my safety boots in the trunk, you know, my hard hat, you know, safety vest, stuff like that. So this is a great vehicle for a construction worker. Okay, what town is this? I have no idea, but we are on Highway 20. There's some kind of a big lake over there. Yeah, I can see it on the phone. There should be a roundabout. But all in all, you know, I'm real happy that somebody gave me a
600 meters at the roundabout. Take the second exit onto Alberta 20 South.
That somebody gave me a chance with this construction thing. Just now, all I have to do is just, you know, don't argue and don't irritate the supervisors. You know, don't text him with every little problem. Just basically stay on good behavior. Like that wheel loader guy, right? They were saying why the wheel loader is sitting idle is because they lost that dedicated operator who was doing coke. I still find it funny. Like, not even like drinking, you know, like, okay, let's say they find him with some beer or something, you know. No, he was doing coke. Man.
Exit the roundabout onto Alberta 20 South. In 400 meters at the roundabout, take the second exit and stay on Alberta 20 South.
Oh yeah, we have another roundabout. Oh, lovely. And so, oh, by the way, yeah, my ambulance, the carrier pleasantly surprised me. The carrier from Quebec who was moving my load number 2, the ambulance from Ottawa to Fort Lauderdale, Florida, did a very good job. You know, they told me when they crossed the border, they told me when they were 1 day away.
Exit the roundabout onto Alberta 20 South.
And they said,
Continue on Alberta 20 South for 4 kilometers.
you know, like they sent me an email the day before, on Thursday they sent me an email and they said, Sergei, the truck is in like South Carolina somewhere. They said he'll be delivering in Florida tomorrow at 10. You know, beautiful. I was really impressed with the carrier. And so when it was delivered, then they sent me a message saying, you know, delivered. Now look at this guy. That's a peace officer who stopped way past the stop line. Okay, now he's backing. I hate these guys, you know. That's like police. That's who gave me a ticket for improper U-turn. I only see this in Alberta. So it's like a sheriff, right? Instead of a regular cop, it's like a sheriff that doesn't know how to drive. Anyway, now I lost my thought. What I was talking about? I was talking about staying on the job, being on good behavior. Oh yeah, sorry, about the ambulance, right? And so yeah, then they sent me a message, Sergei, the ambulance is delivered. And then I see I missed a call because it's so loud inside that skid steer. So I was using those plugs, which reminds me I have to buy batteries. I'm gonna try these my big shooting ear protection, because they should be better. And so I missed the call, so I called the guy back during lunch, and it's my customer, the guy in Florida, who bought this ambulance. So he thanked me profusely. Thank you very much. The ambulance is here. Everything is perfect. Thank you, sir. I said, okay, thank you. Nice doing business with you. And then the carrier, I asked the carrier, I said, please send me the proof of delivery and the invoice. And he just sent me one PDF with 3 documents: invoice, bill of lading signed with a customer, and a copy of rate confirmation. That's what you usually, do. When I was a trucker, same. And I asked him, I said, how do you want the money? I can do wire transfer, or I can do Interac email transfer. And because they're in Canada, actually, quite a few carriers now accept Interac email, And so yesterday when I went to the hotel, I just went to my bank website, added the name and email address of the president of this company, and sent him the money. But I didn't see yet the notice that the money is deposited, so I'm gonna ask him Monday.
In 600 meters, turn right onto Alberta 11 West, signs for Rocky Mountain House.
I'm gonna ask him, because sometimes, if you make a small mistake, like, one character in the email address, the money is already gone from my account, but
turn right onto Alberta 11 West, signs for Rocky Mountain House.
But it can be stuck somewhere. And so if that's the case, if I made a mistake, I'll have to call my bank.
Continue on Alberta 11 West for 1.5 kilometers.
And ask him to cancel that transfer, and then try again. Because I sent money to the Accordion guy, and in 2 minutes I receive a notification saying that the money was successfully deposited, but I did not see yet that from the trucking company. But now it's a long
800 meters at the roundabout, take the 3rd exit onto David Thompson Highway, Alberta 11 East.
Yeah, but now it's a long weekend, right? So nobody works. Yeah, so at least I have Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Okay, well, I think we're going south that way.
Exit the roundabout onto David Thompson Highway. Continue for 22 kilometers.
Well, you guys want to know my fuel economy? Check this out. Average, because it's all highway, 7.7 liters per 100 kilometers. That's close to like 30 miles a gallon. But as soon as I start driving in the city, this thing, it's actually pretty bad, Like, let's say I just go to... Well, I'm back home in Calgary. Sorry the video cut off like that. It's because I was trying to charge the battery on the way to the Accordion shop, but it didn't charge fast enough. So back in Calgary, man, I love this town. So stopped at the Country Hills Boulevard and Highway 2. I went to my favorite Taj Kebab Afghan street food and spend a bunch of money, but it's once a week. I got some 20 pieces of mantu, which is like dumplings but Afghan style, and then they also had some beef samosas. We got 3 beef samosas for the night. So now from here it's like 10 kilometers to my home, and that's it. Then I can relax until Tuesday morning. But man, I would have to get up at 4 o'clock definitely, because it's 90-minute drive to Drumheller. And this plaza, you know, this is the Starbucks and McDonald's here, right? And they're still building that one. Actually, I saw guys walking around. Some guy was carrying a load of you know, boards like 6 by 2 or something. Laborers, general labor. So I'm so happy that I'm above that. Actually, I was talking to one guy. Remember, I was talking to one guy at the school IHE, where I got this wheel loader operator certificate, and he said his friend also spent like $28,000, but probably not of his own money. But he, you know, 3 months, 12 weeks, he was studying all 6 machines: excavator, dozer, wheel loader, rock truck, grader, and backhoe. Like, that's the comprehensive program, and most people go for that one, because I'm guessing, you know, when the government is paying, right, you don't care. Oh shoot, that road is closed. So I wanted to show you because I see that they have a skid steer in there. So they have an excavator, which is CAT 328D, and then they have, oh, look at this. They have a John Deere 333G. I think the one I operated was 331G. So this doesn't look that big, but and over there in the back they have a, I'll go check out that one. So now, you know, before I used to look at trucks, now I look at heavy equipment. Yeah, I see over here. Check this out. What is this? John Deere. You know, the brand seems super popular. So this is John Deere 724K. This is not as big as CAT 966, but that's what I love. You know, I love this with a bucket articulating, and then in the back actually it says L323, but I think the model is this 724K. You see, that's that bucket, right? So he was grading or leveling here, but it's a very big machine for this small job site, and so that's why they have that skid steer. Because even though the skid steer has a much smaller bucket, but it can get into tight spots, right? And I saw here on the side of the machine it says KLS, and this big sign in the fence says Keller Construction. And so I found the Keller Construction website like last week, right? I sent them my resume, no reply. Then I thought, okay, let me try KLS. Googled KLS. It's a huge company, and it's like a really, you know, if you're new to this, it's a really convoluted world, you know, in construction, where there's like 100 companies are involved, you know, like here, right? If you look at Keller, the sign on the fence, it says Keller Construction, but then all the machines say KLS. So I'm guessing Keller Construction is the general, what's the word, contractor, and then they sub-hire people like KLS to do the actual work, you know. So yeah, you have a general contractor who then hires smaller companies, so this way they don't have to do anything. Kind of like brokering, or kind of like when you're a freight broker and you like go in between the carrier and the customer. But yeah, if I could do this, you know, if I could do construction, let's say, sorry, part-time, and then do some freight brokerage and keep making money on YouTube. So by the way, I want to thank everybody who showed interest in my videos, because the numbers jumped up 3-4 times. Like the video about my day one on the site has over 7,000 views. Like I'm you know, before, right, when I was a trucker, I had videos that had you know, 20, 30, 100,000 views. So but then when I sold everything, views went down to like 1,000, you know, 2,000 per video. So I was getting excited when I was getting 4,000 views. Now all of a sudden, as soon as I started doing this real life, you know, videos about construction, I see some interest. So I want to thank everybody who was interested in these you know, crude videos, not blockbusters by any means of imagination. And when I was a trucker, my average in 28 days number of views was about 400,000. Right, so now after I sold everything, the views dropped by 4 times to about 100,000 views a month. And now I'm happy to report that in the last 28 days, thanks to these heavy equipment videos, after I got the job, now I'm up. In the last 28 days, my views got 117,000 views instead of 100, right? So we're doing better. And also when I look at the subscribers, after I sold the truck, I was losing on average 200 subscribers every month. And so from pretty much like 70,000, it went down to 67 in 1 year. Now I check this month, it says I gained, what? I gained 23, I think it was 23 subscribers, or 40 or something like that. Basically, let's say 20 to 40. So finally I'm doing something good, I mean something right, and people are subscribing. So thank you guys, thank you very much. It means a lot, because as you know, I pretty much did not work the entire year. So I did, when I was an agent with a big logistics company, I did 2 loads. And so now basically I'm trying to get out of that hole I put myself in, because, you know, I had to use my credit cards and lines of credit. And then I took out this $6,300 for the training. And yeah, at 61, I decided to change careers, basically. Not drastically, right? Because I was in transportation, moving heavy equipment. Now I'm in heavy equipment operation. So kind of like similar, right? So again, appreciate it. Appreciate the views. Appreciate the subscribers. Thank you very much. Yeah, sorry for my dirty window, but you know, I did so many kilometers that there was a lot of bugs. Oh wait, I'm pushing this button. I don't know, I think it was on my Kenworth. The windshield washer was here, but here it's, I have to pull this. And also a funny thing, I think this is the first car I have this feature. I have the windshield wiper on the rear window, and for that one I have to push it. And basically my you know, I still have factory windshield washer, and I hate to buy extra. So usually I sell the car when I'm out of the original windshield washer fluid. But I think this one still has potential because I didn't use the windshield wash too much. No, I'm joking, okay? I'm joking. But some people were joking about wipers. I remember some stand-up comedian was saying that in his state in US somewhere, he says people sell the car when they need to change the wipers, you know? Yeah, I think, oh yeah, I think I know what it is. It was a stand-up comedy bit about a guy from California who moved to Minnesota, and he was like making very funny jokes, you know, comparing California and Minnesota. And he says, in California people sell cars when it's time to change your windshield wiper. Here in Minnesota, he says, we change them like a couple of times a year. So it was funny. Oh, check this out, oversized load. Southbound, oh, he has what is that, paving machine. So we have a K-Whopper T800, and I never understand why they put, you know, the D, oversized load. They put the sign on top of the roof. You know, like your fuel economy is bad as it is. Why would you put a flat board 90%, 90-degree perpendicular to the road, you know, to catch more wind? I don't know. Oh, and I sent a message to my buyer in Ukraine. Yeah, that's T800. I think it's no tandem drive, and he has a 3-axle 3-axle traveling axle, basically tilt and load trailer. Yeah, and he was hauling some kind of a paving construction machine. Wait a second, this is my road. I'm sorry. I was supposed to take this ramp, because if I keep going I'm gonna end up at 201. Anyway, I just gotta stop here at the gas station, and then I'm gonna go home. So this is my area, very peaceful, not too much traffic. Man, look at this. They almost finished the building. When I moved in here in October, they were just working on the foundation. Wow. Like, and there's not just one building, but there's like 4 of them inside there. Man, and that's why my apartment grew in value by $80,000 in 1 year, because there's crazy construction going on here, and the people are moving. I keep seeing Ontario license plates every day, you know, because People are just leaving. They're leaving Ontario. And by the way, when I was searching for jobs, you know, for equipment operator, at one point I was searching anywhere in Canada, and what I discovered is that, yeah, in Ontario there were a bunch of jobs for heavy equipment operators, but the pay was much worse than here. Like average, even with experience, they were still asking for like, I mean, they were still only offering like 22 bucks an hour. That's ridiculous. Over here, typical, if you get hired directly, like in my capacity, you know, like wheel loader or rock truck or skid steer, it's typical is like 30-35 bucks Canadian an hour. If you go north to Fort Mac, you can make 40-45 bucks an hour, especially since they give you all these LOAs, you know, like allowances, and they pay for gas. It's definitely, the salaries here are definitely better for my particular occupation, heavy equipment operator, or as they shorten this, HEO, heavy equipment operator. Man, home sweet home. Oh, I forgot the keys. That's my ID card for the site to enter. Yeah, last thing I wanted to show you guys the accordion, what the guy did. Took my camera with me over there, my Nikon. Never used it once. Man, so quiet in here. No kids, no girlfriends, no wives. And that's how we like it. So the guy was saying that I got a good deal on this instrument. He was telling me that, he says, actually it's a Gurini accordion, and those ones actually pretty famous. Just, he says, these ones they were doing for somebody kind of like a custom, and so that's why they called it Gemini. And so what he fixed, like my major complaint was the air leaks, like poor compression, so he changed these gaskets over here. So there's a gasket between the body and the bellows. There's 1, 2, and he says they were very thin. Second, he found a leak, like these straps over here, that, you know, for transportation, where you move it, you just hook up these straps. So these pins, they go right inside the accordion, and he found that they were leaking slightly, you know. So there was a leak in there, there was a leak in the gaskets, and then I asked him, I said, one of these switches, you know, with different musette types, one of them did not fix properly. Like when you push it, it seemed like too loose. And so he opened that and he fixed that mechanism. And then also, even though I did not ask him, but he was looking at this one, like there's 2 switches on the bass side, and he found that somebody screwed up at the factory. And basically when you push one of these, the oh, look at this, I found that there's not just one but 2 buttons marked. Cool. So this is C, or do, and this is F, Fa, Do, Sol, Re, La, Mi. So C, Do and Mi are marked, like you can feel it. It's kind of like a little stone attached at the top, which makes it easier to find it. And so yeah, he found that here the mechanism that changes the sound was not assembled properly, and so he fixed it. So now the bass will sound louder and better. And so the only thing he recommended I do, he says it's starting to go slightly out of tune, but he says it's good so far, but he says I can see signs that you know, maybe in a year or 2 it'll deteriorate, like the you know, the tuning. But he wants $800 to tune this properly. And I said, let's hold on that. And I said, you ever come to Calgary? Maybe, you know, I'll pay for your hotel if you bring your tools and do the work here. And he says, no, I can only work in my shop. And so mission accomplished. So I have a nice accordion, even though it has some signs of wear, but even the guy says you have a very nice instrument with full bass, 120 bass, and it's light because here you have only 37 keys, and it's a 4-reed instrument, which is very rare. So it's a cool accordion. And of course, if you remember, I was saying that inside the Accordion Canada shop, who I bought it from, they completely refurbished it. Everything was re-waxed, and inside it looks like new. So I think I got a good deal, you know. So now I'm gonna start tomorrow. I have some video lessons. A guy has a YouTube channel, and he provides free video lessons for all kind of like accordion lovers. And so now I have to relearn, right? Because before mine was a button and only 2-row accordion. This one is a full, like with this one, you can play much more pieces of music than with that Russian accordion. And you see here the switches, that's a very, so like that's the master, so L, M, M, M. Then you have what they call sax, L, M, M. Band, I think it's bandoleone or something, L, M, and then bassoon, L. And then you have clarinet, M, musette, 3 M's, and violin, M and M. So it's a very nice setup, like for anybody who understands, you know, accordion music. So 1 reed, 2, 3, 4, 1, 3, 2. And they don't repeat themselves, because a lot of accordions, you know, yeah, they give you, look, what is it, seven switches, but 2 or 3 of them will be the same. It's just they put them on each end, so in case you're playing somewhere here, it's easier for you to reach here instead of here, you know. But these ones are all original. They're all different. So I really look forward to learning this. And, you know, especially like in older age, people say that it's always good to learn something new, you know, make your mind work. Whether it's learning an instrument or learning a foreign language or learning any type of skill. And as you know, I'm learning equipment. I'm learning heavy equipment. So every day I'm learning something new, and now I'll be taking this with me and just practicing after work when I come back to my hotel. Anyway, thanks for watching. Ciao.